To talk more about the legal proceedings getting underway today, I'm very pleased to be joined now on the line by Ruth Delbaere from the campaigning group Avaaz, which is supporting those 6 young people. She joins me live now from Strasbourg, where the case is taking place. Thanks very much indeed for talking to us on France 24 today.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
Can you explain to us, first of all, why it was important for you to support this climate lawsuit?
Absolutely. So Avaaz has been working on climate change at the regional, international, and also national level for many years. But in the recent years, we have noticed that governments are just not doing enough, and it is time to take them to court. They have had decades to take action, and now it is time to really enforce action through the judicial system. And of course, when we heard about 6 brave young people taking a case to the most important European human rights court, we wanted to support them. And so the Avast community rallied behind them, and we gathered financial support and donations from many of our members, very small donations which racked up to help the youth cover their legal fees.
And just tell us what's happening today in Strasbourg where you are. Have the proceedings now begun?
They have begun. So this morning we already heard the arguments of the applicants, the youth, and then also of the government. So you have to imagine that there are 6 young kids in this courtroom who are facing off against dozens of government lawyers. So this is really sort of a David versus Goliath battle that we're seeing in real time here in Strasbourg. And this afternoon, it's going to continue, and the judges will really grill both sides on the arguments that they presented to the court this morning.
And the youngest person, the youngest plaintiff, is just 11 years old. They, though, like the 5 other people, are all Portuguese. So why not just take the Portuguese government to court here instead of taking all 32 European governments?
Right. So the applicants argue that, of course, all 32 governments' climate policies affect them because climate change and emissions don't stop at the border. And so they are experiencing harms as a result of the failures on climate policy of all of these governments. And that is why they're not just taking their own country to court, but also the 31 other states.
If this is successful, the case goes your way, it'll be legally binding on those 32 countries. So practically, what kind of an impact do you think this is going to have?
So the impact can really not be overstated because if this case is won for the youth, it would bind all 32 countries at once to ramp up their climate action by, for example, phasing out fossil fuels and reducing emissions. So it's technically the equivalent of a regional European treaty legally binding all of these countries at once to remedy the human rights violations that they've caused.
So it could set a precedent then, would you say, for what happens not just within Europe, but perhaps elsewhere in the world, if this is a success?
Sure. It wouldn't be a formal precedent, of course, outside of Europe, but we know that the human rights courts and other courts, of course, are aware of the litigation that's happening across the world. And there are currently over 2,000 climate cases pending in courts across the world. And so inevitably, these judges and these courts would be following this case very closely, because it is the largest climate case to have ever been brought before any court.
And just a final question. We're not expecting a decision from the court until next year sometime. But I don't know if you've been able to speak to the 6 young plaintiffs here at all in the past day or so. Do you have any sense as to sort of how they're feeling by taking this historic case to the European Court of Human Rights?
So understandably, they're a little bit nervous. This is a daunting experience for them. But this morning, the Avast team and others welcomed them with a group of people cheering them on as they arrived. And we were also strengthened by over 135,000 messages from people across the world. And some of those were highlighted on banners as the youth entered the court. So they could read messages like, "We're proud of you, we're behind you, you're doing what adults aren't doing," as they went into the courtroom. And one of the applicants did tell us that really meant a lot to them, and that it was very moving to feel all of that support from across the world. So I think they're feeling really encouraged at this stage.
Ruth Delbaere talking to us there from the campaigning group Avaaz at the start of that trial in Strasbourg. Thank you very much.